And there certainly does seem like there is a sense amongst everyone that this is a big moment in time. This is a big year. And we can feel that, and it's kind of obvious, isn't it, with everything that's going on in our world right now. And more important than ever, to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and specifically, yes, in terms of our health, of course, always so, but also in terms of our joy, and in terms of making sure we're taking care of ourselves and our ability to stay connected to joy and love and clarity and I was listening to Yogi Bhajan this morning. He was talking about, he said maturity is the security of your prosperity. And the whole talk he was and that's my mentor, Yogi Bhajan, who is a master of Kundalini Yoga, but his whole talk was on maturity. A simple thing, but my sense is there's an aspect of it that's spiritual maturity, but I think really what a lot of it is emotional maturity. And our prosperity really, my experiences, rests on the foundation of emotional maturity. And that emotional maturity does develop or is profoundly assisted by these yogic practices in combination with your own intelligence, and because what these practices do, and what we're going to be doing today, and then starting on Sunday is day one of our New Year's Prosperity 40-day challenge, and you're going to get a great taste of it today. And I think you'll, by the end of today's experience, which will probably go, somewhere between 60 to 90 minutes. Who knows? Maybe less. Definitely no more than 90 minutes. I think you'll have a great sense of what it's all about, or at least a good taste of it, and a sense of whether, this is something I want to definitely do or not. But what these practices do is give you a sense of what you are, and reconnects you if it's disconnected, or amplifies and nurtures if it's currently connected. Just like, what is that you're all about? What connects you to joy? What connects you to the purpose of your life? And really, that's a big part of, I think, the heart of prosperous living.
Yeah, we were, like Jaidev was saying, we were at the Grateful Dead shows for the New Year's time, and for my birthday. And I remember the first time that we went to see them together, and live, because both of us have been listening to them for a long time, since we were little kids. And I remember the first time I went in there, and this has been a process, and I'm just sharing the process because this has so much to do with prosperity, and that's the reason I'm talking about this, is that we were there and we were like, we don't know about this, that doesn't feel good, they're not going so deep, and blah blah blah, Jerry's not there, and all these different things that we were talking about. Jerry Garcia was the lead singer and the lead guitarist of the band, who a lot of people eventually, as the band grew and became bigger and bigger, deemed like a godlike figure, which he did not like. And the band, none of them, tried to advertise that or make that the situation, but some of the fans kind of put him in that place. And so a lot of people were, when the Grateful Dead came back out without Jerry and some new younger members, a lot of people were kind of grumbly about it, including myself. And then we've been going to the shows to see the new formation of this band for probably 6 years or something now, 5-6 years since they've been around, and they've gotten better, they've gotten tighter, they've gotten more psychedelic, because they're more easily able to go into this really cool psychedelic space, which we really love. And then it was interesting, over the years I've gotten a lot lighter about it, and and this time in particular, this New Year's show was a very beautiful show. It was so much fun. They know how to really capitalize on that joy feeling with what they're doing. Like, they really know how to evoke that, not only through the music, but through the way that they hold space, the way that they put things in place for people to enjoy, and just the whole energy of the Grateful Dead is about that deeper sense of joy, and not just the superficial joy, but that deeper sense of joy. That's what that experience is. And so I was setting up this context to share with you about this conversation that I had with a beautiful woman there, and we were talking about, like, I was just speaking with someone about how much it's been so fun, and she and I we really connect on a deeper level. I feel like we come from the same kind of place, and we were talking about it, and it was kind of easy. I could see us going into this thing about like, oh, well, they haven't played any of the deep cuts, and it's been like, it's just like so joyful, and it's great, and it's just like this, but we wanted to, we're talking about going deep and deep and deep and deep, and then we were talking about relationships, and she was sharing with me, like a lot of people just, once it starts to get hard and you have to get vulnerable, and then it might feel uncomfortable, and things might get a little awkward sometimes in a relationship. People want to dip out. That's the point where people want to dip out, because they don't realize that the fruits come from going through that, and then it gets actually a lot easier. But what it was really showing me in that conversation is, she was like, I just want to, we were talking about it, people just should do the work. We just want to do the work. It's just so much work, and this and that. And in the music, it just needs to go deep. We just need to go deeper. We just need to go deeper. And it was like, the more that we talked about that, the more that I realized, like, and Jaidev and I were talking, prosperity is a sense of depth and connection and joy that doesn't feel like it has to take so much maneuvering and so much work and so much it takes grit, it takes work. But also, prosperity is that place in which you reach where there is an effortless, it becomes effortless, and you're not trying so hard. We're not trying so hard for the relationship to be good. The relationship is already good. The relationship is already deep. The Grateful Dead is already deep. So when they're playing happy, light songs, it's still very deep, because the energy and the underlying current is so deep already. It doesn't mean that all the time it has to be so deep.
No, in fact, because they go happy and light as well, it makes it even, for me, it makes it even deeper.
Yeah, totally. And it's not about a style. It's not like, oh, well, this pop music is happy and light, so it's deep. That's not what we're saying. It's about the tone and the underlying current what makes it. And same with the relationship. It's the foundation and the underlying current of the relationship and what the relationship is based on. And the prosperity is the same. It's about your relationship with yourself, and that's your prosperity right there. It's not about how much money that is coming in all the time. That's a form of prosperity, because it's a form of energy flow, but it's not about how shiny I look, or it's not about how amazing I think I am. It's about how good I feel in my own skin, in myself. And that dictates not only my relationship with myself, but that dictates my dialogue with myself. Also, my relationship with other people and my relationship to the universe, to the cosmos. So that's what we're endeavoring to do here, is get really comfortable in our own skin, so that we can just magnetize things in an effortless way. Not that we're like, I'm trying to magnetize something, it's going to happen. And that's why we do these practices. We do these practices so we get comfortable in ourselves, and we feel more balanced and clear in ourselves, and therefore we're attracting things in our lives that not only make sense, but that feel prosperous. We feel prosperous in that way.
Yeah, it reminds me back to Yogi Bhajan. He used to say that there's two ways of living. And he said there's one is where you're going after things, and then the other is when you're allowing things to come to you. And that's what I feel like,
Yes.
Simrit was unpacking really is that second way, which he called the way of the prosperous human, is when you allow things to come to you. Now, of course, it's a little more complicated than that because it does require your effort. But the maturity, kind of bringing it full circle here, in terms of both the type of spiritual and emotional maturity, is being able or discovering how, which is a process, and it takes time and practice and lots of
and work and grit and all that.
And pain, frankly, because there's a lot of like, oh, I thought this was the way, and in fact I was short-sighted. And that may cause me some pain in my life in an infinite variety of fashions. And pain is often our greatest assets because that's what helps us to grow the most and the most clearly. And so that finding that balance between being activated in your purpose, which is really what we could call your service, and doing the hard work, but it's a love affair. And so to find the balance between working and allowing things to come to you, for me, I find that happens when things do become very purpose-oriented, but not just I feel a sense of purpose, but there's also a very intimate connectivity between your mind and then the spirit of life, which includes yourself, capital S, and the spirit of reality, and the energy that emanates and pulsates through all things. And to have that relationship, that's why there's so much emphasis in Kundalini Yoga in putting in your intuitive psyche. Because without that intuitive psyche, which is all this work that we're going to be doing today and throughout these 40 days, profoundly develops the intuitive psyche, which is really synonymous with your meditative mind. That could also be called the third eye. And without that intuitive psyche, which isn't a head thing actually, the activating point for it is right there where the yogis describe where the root of the nose meets your skull bone. That's the activating point, your pituitary gland. But what its effect and its experience is how the head connects to the heart. Because this whole thing has to be a love affair. And just like in the relationship, if that relationship is going to be prosperous, it has to be a foundation of just real love. And that's not romantic love at that point. Romantic love is born out of that in a longer term relationship, in a real love relationship. But love is like you care about that person regardless.
Yeah, I was talking with the same person at the concert about that, and she was talking about the work, and I said, that is really important, and we have definitely put that in, and we continue to put that in, but you get to a point, and this is to me the flow of prosperity, where you get to a point where Jai Davis say, what I feel like he's talking about here, when you truly want the other person to be happy, you truly care that they're happy, and you want to help them to enjoy themselves more, to be more happy, to enjoy life, and to feel their joy more, no matter if that feels a little uncomfortable to you because maybe they're traveling more than you'd like them to, or we both do that, or whether it's something that they that that you don't want to do, but that fills them up, or it's that maybe they don't feel so good, and you genuinely want to help them to feel better in any way, or you genuinely feel for them. You feel empathetic, and it's not just like, oh, it's in my head, let me try to help them feel better because this is what I'm supposed to do. You truly, viscerally feel this way for them, and that's the flow of prosperity. And I feel also that kind of relationship with ourselves is supremely important, because once we're able to truly empathize with ourselves in that way, we can do that with another person as well. And touch that place and that intuitive place.
Yeah, and let's, for just a moment before we actually get started, because we're going to move our bodies, we're going to do some energization exercises to get the life force moving in the body, to make the mind come into a greater space of expansiveness, heart open. And then we're going to do these 2 meditations that are going to be the backbone of the 40-day challenge. And even if you're not doing the 40-day challenge with us, just today even, I think you may feel like, wow, that was worthwhile, cool, and it's going to help my life. And so regardless of whether you're going to do, jump in, which we hope you will, of course, but even if this is the one time you're going to hang out with us, I think you'll find this to be at least fascinating, if nothing else. And so when we talk about money, because money's a real thing, and money's something that we all, if you're a householder, or you live in the world and you're not a renunciate, and many yogic paths have a renunciation pathway to them, or lifestyle to them. This one is not a renunciation path. This is a householder practice, and meaning, so Kundalini Yoga is for people who live in the world, they work in the world, they may very well be married and have sex, they may, having sex being important in this context because there are some yogic paths that are celibate oriented. This is not. And also, it doesn't mean like, oh, there's some path you have to take either. It's not really that, but I'm giving you some context of where this is coming from. This is just like, oh, this could be a cool exercise / meditation system that I add to my life that will improve everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean like you're not getting a new job necessarily. It's like, oh, my job isn't sometimes your job isn't your purpose, but your job is important for your purpose. And those are different things, because your job is generating the resources you need in your life to do whatever it is that you're here to do. And I really emphasize to folks that I don't think it's actually important that you know what your purpose is, because that discovery doesn't happen from an analytical and intellectual space. You are your purpose. It's already here. You are it. Like everything about you, your quirks, the things that you're talented at, the things that you genuinely love from your heart, the things that you dislike, your neuroses, all of that has to do with your purpose, because you were designed for what you are exactly. And so a concept of here's my purpose, like some sort of like mission statement. I don't have a mission statement in that sense. I couldn't, I'm teach, that's my main work. Simrit makes music, and that's her main work. But those are vehicles for an energy of prosperity and purpose. They're not the purpose itself. And I think that's really important, because otherwise it can become like a head trip.
Yeah, and we also can become attached too to like,
this is how it's supposed to look.
This is how it's supposed to look. I am a singer, and what happens one day if I can't sing?
Yeah, right.
Am I gonna be like,
get depressed?
Oh shit! Like now I can't. Now I'm not prosperous. Now I'm not myself. Now I don't know who I am. So that's why I really feel a resonance with what Jaidev's saying about that. It's true. It's not, because it's almost like it's a limitation to say, well, I'm a singer, I'm a mother, I'm in this, I'm in that. These are all things that I do in my life that are part of my purpose, like Jaidev said, that fuel my purpose, and that are really important things in my life. But it's not truly who I am. And that's something that's beyond what my mind can even think about or conceive. And I don't, at this point, want to even try, because I'll just give myself a headache in the first place if I do. But, the money thing I do want to mention is it's important. It's important because it gives us options. It gives us choices. It gives us a sense of relaxation when we have enough for where we are in our lives to pay for a place to live, to pay for food, to pay for transportation, to pay for clothes, to pay for like being able to go see our parents across the country. To be able to do that, we used to not have the money to do these kinds of things. We used to not even have the money to pay for much food. We had to ration our food. We've been in that place before, so we know what it feels like to have very little money, to be on government subsidy. We've both been there before, together as a couple, as individuals, those kinds of things. And we know what it feels like to have to live paycheck by paycheck. We know what that's like from firsthand experience. We know what it's like to not have insurance. So we're not coming to you with this lofty thing like prosperity is just this and it's so easy and it's this and this. We've put in a lot of work. We're still putting in a lot of work. We're still on the journey with you all. And we just have had experiences in our lives. We've grown some, and we're in a place in our lives where we feel we can share these practices and these experiences and these teachings because we live these teachings, and these teachings are part of our lives. And they've taught us to not take ourselves so seriously, even though we know that we have so much work to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they've also helped us. We've had people that have done these practices with us, especially these New Year's prosperity practices, and said, hey, we started doing these practices and we've had checks come in the mail, or we found this money, or I got this new job. So there are things like that that are happening. It's not like we're discarding the money part of it. The money's important, just like all of it. But we were wanting to articulate that it's a flow of energy.
Yeah, money's not a great measuring stick. That's one thing about it. And your level of prosperity is not measured by money, in my opinion. Because of course there's plenty of people with lots of money that are tremendously unhappy. And there's plenty of people with very little to no money that are tremendously happy. And of course, vice versa in both scenarios. So, however, if you desire more money in your life, you have the capacity to generate that. And there's nothing wrong with wanting more money. And there is a challenge when money in individual psyche is negatively contextualized, or an extreme of that is demonized, as if money is the root of all evil and that kind of thing. Money is just a medium. It's not negative and it's not positive. It's a flow of energy and a flow of circulation. A dollar bill is a representation of an energy. The number that you see in your bank account is a representation of an energy. Money itself isn't even real. It's a concept. So recontextualizing your even concept of what money is, I think, is important if it's currently in a limited fashion, or if you discover within yourself that there is a certain poverty consciousness that continues to run itself. It's like a software that is like operating in your operating system, your subconscious and central nervous system, underneath the surface, almost like a virus that's causing challenges. And that's real. That's a definite reality for a lot of people, and particularly a lot of people on who are spiritually oriented, because who knows why, but one reason why for many people is because we grew up with some sort of religious contextualization that put a negative energy around the flow of money. And so, all right, why? Cool, if you can discover why, that may or may not be useful. Most importantly is, all right, well, let's move forward. And if you desire more money in your life, then you can generate more money, but you have to be clear that you want to. And then also, in my encouragement, is to be clear why you want to. and what specifically are the reasons? It may be like really easy. Well, I'm stressed the hell out, and a big part of my stress is because I have a family and I have a mortgage or a rent, and I am barely making it, or I'm not making it, or you don't have the basic resources that you need in order to live. That's a base level. Of course, we need that. But on the other is, what type of resources do you need to comfortably do your dharma in the world, to do your service in the world? Because if money is generated in order to accumulate more pleasure, you can still generate it in that way, but the longer term effect is not going to make you a happier, more blissful person. And that's a dangerous path to take, in my opinion, because once you get down that road, it gains a momentum, and it can be difficult to reverse it, even with good intent. So what I think is really important is to make sure, for me, that I know that what the central kind of pivot of whatever it is that I'm doing, and the entities that the money is flowing through, and a business is an entity, it's a type of organism, or a household is even, a family is an entity, it has its own type of electromagnetism, it's an organism. So that however we're circulating, and that's how my mentor used to always talk about the flow of money. He said it's a circulation, and if you try to hoard it, it's going to cause you problems. It's going to be like a heavy weight that acts more like a poison than it does an asset to you. And so what we need it to be is an asset to creating a happiness in life, and supporting the dharma of your life, the purpose of your life. So in that sense, the yogic term for that, it's called artha. So first comes dharma, purpose, then comes artha, which is wealth or prosperity. Then after that only comes kama, which is then you can enjoy the pleasures of life. When both dharma and artha come together, that leads into kama in the later years of life. Not that you don't have pleasure all throughout life, but there's certain, when we're young, we're discovering, what am I going to do with my life? And then when we become adults, we start, all right, how am I going to generate resources in my life? And how am I going to kind of activate the dharma of my life? Then as we get a little older, we say, now maybe let's go, see Paris, you know what I mean? And like hang out, and then the final one is called moksha, as you get into the winter of your life, and that means liberation, where now you're very much preparing for the next world, wherever we're going to travel to once we shed these bodies. So, and that is a critical piece, because you can't have a sense of real dharma purpose without the continuous reminding, and then eventually continuous awareness that this situation that we're all in together is impermanent, that we're only here for a blink of the eye. And that and the beauty of that is when we realize that, it's like, it's just at one level it's a really big deal, and at another level it's not that big of a deal. It's simultaneously. This is why you need that intuitive heart, because you can sit inside of paradox, and when you can sit in the middle of paradox, you'll find bliss. It's simultaneously, it's a huge deal. It's crucially important, and at the same time, and even within the same space, it's just not that big of a deal. And that's how you allow things to come to you, and in a relaxed, sit in the center of the universe, and simultaneously you're activated. You work hard. And that's the flow of prosperity.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's do some exercises. But first we're going to tune in.